All right, it is 7 o'clock. I'm going to call to order the December 17th, 2025 meeting of the Clintonville Area Commission Zoning and Variance Committee. My name is Michael Haw. I am Vice Chair of the Zoning and Variance Committee. Our Chair, Hardwick, asked if I could run the meeting this evening as he has a family conflict. I would like the members to please introduce themselves, please.
Diane Hayford.
Mike McLaughlin.
Jason Adani.
Maria Purnell.
Doug Boyer.
Gretchen West.
Thank you. Our first order is to approve the agenda. I make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Any objections? All right, the agenda is approved without objection. We will consider the draft minutes from our previous meeting as submitted. Do I make a motion to approve them as submitted?
A second.
Any comments? Hearing none, we'll call it to a vote.
Yes.
Yes. Stay.
Yes.
I will vote yes. Passes 3-2. Minutes from the previous meeting are approved without comment as submitted. We'll move on to our variance agenda. For those of you not familiar, the order of our meeting will go as follows. We'll allow the applicant to make a short presentation on their project and make any comments to the committee. We will then have the committee ask questions. And we will have a commissioner report from the district if the commissioner is present. We'll then have time for public comment. I know there's a lot of people here in the audience this evening to comment on our applications this evening. I will do my best to make sure everybody has time to speak, but I will ask everyone to please respect everybody's time and keep their comments on point and on topic for the agenda or for the application we're reviewing. With that being said, the final would be a committee discussion after public comment and then a vote from the committee on the applications. All right, laying that out, the first item on our variance agenda is 5020 North High, an application to renovate an existing building and site for dispensary. The applicant seeks two variances, one for on-site parking to allow the drive aisle between the principal building and North High Street to remain, and for screening to allow dumpster screening to be located between the principal building and Arbor Village Drive. We have the applicant here to present.
Yes, I'm Jeffrey L. Brown, I'm an attorney with Smith & Hale, and this is an old financial institution.
Mr. Brown, may I ask you to step on one side or the other?
I'm
to
sorry.
not block the camera, sir.
That's my best side.
Sorry.
This is an old financial institution, and so my client is leasing the property, or proposed to lease the property for marijuana dispensary. And so two things happened when they submitted their site plan to the city. One of which the city noted that they did not have anything of record with the connecting driveway along High Street. So I went back and just looked at the various historical maps that the county and the city had, and the city goes back to 1995, and that driveway connection was there, at least that as far back as 30 years ago. So because this has been rezoned to the new CAC, there's a requirement that you don't have a driveway in front of the building. So we are asking for one variance for that section to be able to maintain that existing driveway. And what is going to happen is that there will be a one-way circulation with this building. You will come in with the driveway to the south, circulate around the building, and then the exit to the north is going to be right out anyway. So that connection is important to be able to maintain if you want to turn around and go out and try to go south to High Street. And so part of this also is they're going to have a drive-through window Ironically, the bank had the drive-throughs on the south side, we're gonna have ours on the north side of the building. The second variance is really kind of odd. We have two street frontages. We go back to Arbor Village on one end and High Street on the other. The new code says you can't have a dumpster in the front yard. The new code considers this property to have two front yards. So even though our dumpster is behind the building and will be screened according to code, it's still, according to the new code, in the wrong location because it's in the front yard. So this would not have been an issue before they changed the code, but I don't think they necessarily looked into having pieces of property that would have two front yards. And so that's the situation with this request.
Thank you. I will now bring it to the committee for discussion and questions.
So when you're coming in and going out, you're going around the building, correct?
You would, what,
What if you want to go south?
if you want to go south, then depending on which parking space you pick, there are parking spaces on the south side of the property. You could back out and then go out to Arbor Village.
To Arborville?
Or if they're busy and you end up parking on the north side, then that's when the continued use of that connecting driveway comes in. Then you can turn around and come back out to Arbor Village and be able to go south ultimately on High Street.
Any other questions from the committee? Is the area commissioner here for a report? I don't believe they are. With that, are there any members of the public here who would wish to comment on this application? Okay. Not hearing any public comment. So the chair will put a motion to approve this application as submitted on the table, and it's now open for committee discussion.
Well, I think the kind of hardship here is that you have two front yards. So what do? You're blocked in this way and you're blocked in that way. So I think this is a solution that works.
Any other comments from the committee? Do I have a motion to approve as submitted? Second?
I'll second.
Okay, we'll call to a vote. Gretchen?
Yes.
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 The chair also votes yes. This application is approved 7-0, and will go before the CAC at their next meeting, which I believe is January 8th at 7 p.m. at the Whetstone Library.
Thank you very much. This is
Long
my
time.
last meeting of the year. Good to see you, Diane.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful night, Tom.
You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you. Now that we're able to clear out. Our second application on the agenda this evening is for 146 Valhalla Road. This is to allow a 2-unit dwelling in the pre-R district following a lot split. The applicant is seeking, I believe, 6 variances. 1, to allow a 2-unit dwelling on the north lot. 2, to decrease the area for the north lot from 20,000 square foot to 2,735 square feet. 3, to decrease the required parking from 4 to 0 spaces for the new dwelling. 4, to decrease from 25 foot to 0 foot the building line on East California for the new dwelling. 5, to decrease from 11 foot 6'4" to 0 foot for the maximum side yard requirements to the new dwelling. And finally 6, to decrease from 7 foot 5 to 0 foot for the minimum side yard requirements for the new dwelling. We have the applicant present to make a presentation. Please come forward.
Hi. I'm Kara. This is my husband, Brad. We did not print copies for everyone. I apologize.
We,
You guys have it
I can,
digitally,
we
right?
have,
Okay,
Let me know what you'd like from your application displayed, and I can pull it up
perfect,
on
sounds
the
good.
screen.
We have the plans, so that might be the most helpful. Yeah, thank you.
The site plan.
Yep, that's great.
sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right, so, our home we purchased in 2018, we moved in 2019. As most everybody knows, the Walhalla lots are pretty odd. They're very long and skinny, and ours is the last long and skinny one of the street. So we have a very funky situation where people don't quite know where to find our house because our actual address is Walhalla, which is down in the ravine. So we often say, look across the street from whatever.
Look across from me.
Yeah, exactly. So
Most homes are like that too.
yeah, yep, exactly. So we're proposing this building. It's on this corner lot that is currently essentially vacant. It's just has grass. The previous tenant had a bunch of trees and like orchard type trees and a big garden back there, and I know a lot of people remember that space fondly. So we've been thinking about for years what makes the most sense to do back here. We know that the city has a densification problem, and so we're thinking about ways in which we could make the most of that lot, and so we're proposing a 2-family home in this location. It is proposed technically as a duplex. The design of the home will look like a single-family home, and the plan is that it's about 1/4 to 3/4 in terms of how the space is allocated. So the lower level is almost like a garden level. It's 5 steps below ground level, which is done intentionally to bring the height of the building down because it is on this outside corner. We're also looking at a number of sustainable design principles within this home. So it has a single pitch. The plan is to use a solar array on the roof to power the home from a power standpoint. We're thinking about using things like permeable pavers for parking on the lot. While we're not technically allowed to ask for parking because the parking location would essentially exist in the city setback, there is actually room for it. So
There isn't.
I'm just gonna keep going. Let's see, what else to point out here? We're also thinking about from a passive solar standpoint. We have deeper overhangs on the roof line. The intent is for the space to be sustainable, for it to add to the character of the neighborhood. We know that there is a lot of variety in the architecture of our neighborhood. It's something that I love about Clintonville. So it is a little bit different. It's certainly different from the style of our home, which you can see on the left side of this screen. What other details would you guys like to have?
Your presentation,
Okay.
tell us everything you think is important.
Okay, so
We'll ask
in
questions.
total, it's 4 bedrooms. It is 3 bathrooms, 3 full baths. So the single apartment has 1 bathroom and 1 bedroom, a kitchen, a living room area, stackable washer dryer. And then the other portion of the home has 3 bedrooms and 2 full baths. There is a small outdoor space that we proposed on the east side of the house, which is essentially planned south on the view that we're looking at here. And we think that this will be a really nice addition to the neighborhood. We've been pretty thoughtful about the way in which we design the house. That's it. Is there anything else to add?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now I'll bring it back to the committee for questions.
Had you given any consideration to a single-family unit here instead of duplex? That would have been a little more able to accommodate the lot, what you're dealing with. You could maybe accommodate it a little more
We
easily.
have thought about that for sure. I think what we saw when we started putting pen to paper is that there's actually room for that for 2 dwelling units. So that's why we pursued this design. I think that we see a lot of content in the media about the lack of housing, especially in our neighborhood. So it's something that we were like, maybe we can accommodate for this with this design.
And I did want to mention, part of the intent for it to be smaller and to be a duplex is to hopefully comply with the city's tax incentives to provide for affordable housing for a neighbor. And that wouldn't be allowed if it wouldn't be available if it wasn't a duplex. That was a big driver as well.
You mentioned that there might be a potential for parking on permeable pavers. You can't show us where that is.
Ken?
Well,
And you mentioned in the setbacks as well, is that the same area?
So where we're talking about having parking would be located here. So the red line indicates the location between the actual lot and the city setback. So this is the city's property in this shaded area. The white is the road.
The neighbor across the street has a much smaller area, but does park one of his 3 cars there.
Does that answer your questions?
which makes
So are
it
the
very
trees
dangerous.
existing?
No, the trees are not existing. Our neighbor has trees here in this area. And the intent would be to plant some trees with the proposed property as well. But they likely wouldn't be right here.
So if you planted the trees, then there will be no parking.
Correct, right. But the intent is to think about, the trees can be planted anywhere within that property. So I think probably we would put them here instead.
So there were a lot of setbacks going to 0. Can you show me which ones are going to 0?
Yes.
Yeah, I did some of this. It's really because, well, 2 of them are because of this corner.
Right.
This is obviously much longer. It's, I think, 10 feet both. And that's even actually just the stairwell. And then the other one's right here, which is up against our house,
Our garage.
our garage.
Yeah.
It doesn't go up against the garage, but just a lot split line that we arbitrarily are asking for.
So is the lot split a council variance?
No.
Yes.
This
this
is
is
a
a
council
council
variance.
How much space is left between the new property line and your existing garage?
3-4 feet?
It's not proposed home.
Yes, and the dark line that you're seeing is the roof line. So the actual house would be further back from that corner. You can imagine that the roof overhang is what's indicated with that dark line.
2 feet there.
Mm-hmm.
And the motivation is just for doing this project is to add housing units.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm a designer, so this would also be a little bit of a pet project. We like to take on this kind of work, fix something up, build something new. So that's the motivation behind it.
You would retain ownership of the duplex?
Yeah.
So a question on your parking. You're saying you're going to try to add parking, yet you're asking for a reduction from 4 required spaces to 0. How many spaces would you be planning on adding? And if you are planning on adding the parking, why are you asking for the reduction from 4 to 0?
The city told us to. I believe the original design showed 3 spaces right along there, and I don't think they fit in either because they were within the right of way or because they didn't meet the size of the city's lot. So whether they can be considered parking, I don't know. I mean, they told us you have to take those out and change the variance to 0.
I can show you a previous version of the drawings that had.
I don't think that would be helpful, as that would probably clutter our discussions here.
Yep.
But, Woodnote, that has a very long border where parking is legal along the street. So plenty of room for parking.
I think the thing that we
It's an
want.
accident waiting to happen.
I think the thing that we want to acknowledge too is that we live on this curve. We see that people drive too fast around this curve. We don't disagree with our neighbors about the fact that this curve is something that is to be thinking about, right? But we also think that actually having a home there probably will slow people down. There's a lot of traffic on our street because there's a daycare at the end of California, the corner of California and High Street. So the traffic is noticeably heavier at like 8 in the morning and also at like 5 in the afternoon. There are also no sidewalks on this portion of the street. And I think sidewalks would make a lot of people feel more comfortable.
So you're gonna have sidewalks and parking?
Please, the public will get their chance to comment. Thank you.
Sidewalks are a city-provided component. They're not a public-provided component.
Do you intend to add sidewalks?
We don't currently have sidewalks in the plan, but it's something that we can consider.
And that would sacrifice parking, right?
Yeah, and I think like if we were to think about adding sidewalks, I think it's possible that we could put them on a portion that could still allow for parking too. So there's a lot of different ways that you could consider that. There have not been sidewalks on this lot ever. And, you know, I think that it is an issue. And frankly, a lot of our neighbors walk in our yard right now when there is traffic. So it's like, we get it, we see it. It's a residential street, so having a business use it to access, you know, to access that daycare is less than ideal, especially because of the S-curve.
Again, we think it'll actually help by slowing traffic down.
Which way is the problem with the traffic? Heading towards the west or heading towards the east, or is
It's
it
kind of
both?
both. Yeah, it's kind of both. And it's gotten, the daycare opened probably like 3 years ago-ish, and it was very noticeable when that picked up.
And then white hallways.
Any other questions from?
Have we heard anything from the Walhalla Lagoon Association?
I have seen emails, but they were not official on behalf of, they were from members of.
Okay.
I've not seen an official email, and Steve did not mention that there was an official email.
Have you
from
had any contact
the
with
Walhalla
them?
It's just our neighbors who are members, but no official contact.
Okay, thank you.
Unofficially, they said they would not be responding. Something to deny.
So, no, the answer to your question is we have not received an official response from the Ravine Association. Any other questions from the committee at this time?
Well, except for hardship. What is the hardship that?
There's no other use, no good use for the property, and we're trying to help the city do what it wants and what they're incentivizing to do.
What do you mean by incentive?
Adding housing,
Oh, I understand that
supporting
part. I'm saying,
duplexes.
how are they incentivizing?
The tax incentive program, changing the variance code, I consider both of those incentives, but I could be wrong.
But a hardship could be alleviated by having a smaller footprint.
Yeah, it just wouldn't provide as good of an advantage to the city or us.
Other questions from the committee? Is the area commissioner present to make a report? I don't believe they are. I have not received one via email. With that, we'll move on to public comment. And I will remind everybody, please be respectful. I know there's a lot of people here who want to comment. I will definitely try to get to all of you. And but please, ma'am in front with the sweater. And if you would,
If I could
please
show
state,
you-
please state your name before we
Yes,
start
my
speaking.
name is Ann Price,
All right, thank you very
and I'll
much.
show
ma'am.
you where my house is.
You
My
are-
driveway's right there. And it's very short because there's no space for it. There's no space for parking along here. All of us know that even before that daycare was put in, that was a dangerous curve. It's always been a dangerous curve. You can only have one car going through, and that's without parking. And for being neighbors, I'm out there in my yard all the time, and you never came to talk to me. about any of this. That's not neighborly. This is a very quiet neighborhood with lots of kids. I'm scared for the kids. You cannot park there. My neighbors who live next door, and they've got a lot of cars because there are a lot of people in that house. They don't even park along here because it's too dangerous. And, you know, for my view being impacted, and I'm just very, very disappointed and upset with your lack of involvement of community members, especially the person who's going to be impacted the most. I'll sit down.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments.
Okay.
Gentlemen? And your name, sir? Thank you.
My name is Steve Britton. I live at 175 East Basemont. I live about 2 houses east of her. I'm the guy that has the snowman on the garage, so I'm that nut. But I think they should be entitled to build something on that property. I just think this is the wrong thing to build. This is a residential area of single-family homes, and I think it should be more in line with that. So that's a problem for me. You're trying to pack 2 units into a lot that's roughly half the size of the lots in our neighborhood. I think that's just a little overreach. 1 unit to me is fine. Parking is a problem. I think ideally there should be almost 2 parking spaces per bedroom because people who are going to rent it are going to be students, young couples, whether they're married or not, and they're both going to have cars because they're going to be going to jobs or going to school or whatever. And the traffic on California has increased a lot at the times they mentioned with the daycare center. And they didn't seem to, I guess they got around the issue of having enough parking places for them too, because they pretty much parked up half the way in California. People do speed on the street, especially a lot of these people pick up their kids. I guess they don't care about kids in our neighborhood. They pick up theirs, they want to get out, and they don't worry about the speed in our street. The thing about affordability, I don't really buy it. It's kind of a buzzword now. It's pretty much what the market's going to bear. There's a house this east of me that a young couple bought and renovated, and now they moved on and renting it out for $2,800 a month. And that's the other problem I have with renters is they're not invested in the community. They don't take care of the property. They don't really have to. I've got leaves in this guy's house that have been there for over a year. They don't take their trash receptacles off the street. They're just not invested. So I have a problem with the renters. I mean, if they're going to be there, I get it, but they just don't seem like they care what I have to look at either. But I think Brad and Carrie have the right to build something. I just think they need to make it more intuitive for the community. Did I miss anything here? Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention, talking about parking, there's going to be a rain garden right here, I think, at some time in the future, which is also going to cut back on parking spaces because most people, you have 2 people in a car, you park your car, the passengers don't want to get out on the rain garden side because they're either going to wreck the flowers or they're going to break their ankles when they tumble in the rain garden. So I think that's an issue also. That's about all I have for that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yes, the gentleman in the purple. Don't feel you need to come forward to speak. If you don't want to, you're welcome to speak.
I have some exhibits to pass out, if that's okay.
You're very welcome to do so. Sure.
So my name is Nicholas Goodman. I live at 44 East California. I'm a licensed professional transportation engineer. I want to pass a couple of exhibits based on your guys' architectural drawings and the zoning. Basically, the big shaded region, I'll pass this around for everybody else, is what I'm most concerned about, and I could get to some of you guys as well, and try to explain if you want to take that and maybe look at it. So I guess I'll start by saying, like, you guys could build on your property. I'm not trying to take that away from you guys at all. I just think being a professional engineer and a steward for public safety, there is already a problem with the S-curve, but one of the things that you're doing based on the current design is kind of precluding what's called the stopping sight distance for someone who's traveling in the westbound and the eastbound direction. So in that exhibit there, I have a really, it's kind of hard to see, but essentially the stopping sight distance for a 25-mile-an-hour facility is 155 feet. 155 feet from a point of interest here. This puts you here. And that line, that all the way across here, is basically that view that the driver needs to see going westbound, right? So in order to make it a complete stop at for those of you who have the figure, for someone to make a complete stop here going 25 miles an hour, we talked about speeding, people go a little bit higher than 25. You can make this curve comfortably at 22 and a half, 25. Likely some people who are familiar with the area will go 20, 15, but nonetheless, the design speed of the facility is 25 miles an hour. So going from that point on my figure that I gave you over here, 155 feet away, that line cuts like straight through here. And that's just my biggest concern is about that safety. So you mentioned that, which is going for the building footprint, right? And I know that the lot size is, like the way that you split it, you're trying to maximize that space, which I respect for efficiency. However, based on this S-curve, that's really challenging. It's not gonna pass with DPS. If it does pass with DPS, I'll be really shocked. The things that DPS can do to help try to accommodate this is by providing advanced warning signs on the street, but now we're talking like processes and so forth, and whether or not they're going to approve that and then do all of the things on the street remains to be seen. So you mentioned the building footprint, and then you also mentioned putting trees here. That makes it's so much worse, right? So someone going 25 miles an hour, if they see me walking my dog right here, they're not going to have the ability to stop before I get ran over, right? Mm-hmm. So that's my biggest concern. I'm super passionate about it. You could build on your property, so good luck with the process. But from an engineering standpoint and from a safety implication standpoint, that's kind of what I see. I did the analyses. Feel free to keep it. You can talk to me about it. I can provide my card after the meeting. And yeah, and then I have, I know that this is public commentary period, but am I allowed to ask a question? Is that okay?
You may.
Okay. So through the research and doing like the site plan work and so forth with your architects, and you mentioned that you're a designer, were there any deed or easement research for public utility that goes outside the public right-of-way along this curb line? Like, my concern, I guess, just a forewarning, if there's any kind of sanitary easement or any kind of electric easement or something like that, they would be able to come in and make modifications, so if you wouldn't be able to necessarily build on that easement.
We contacted somebody about that and they told us there shouldn't be a problem. I forget that as part of the process, they said it's called this number or something. They said it wouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
But
is that marker in your property, is that saying there's a gas line under the street, or is that access to a valve or something?
No, that's the gap. Yeah,
I don't know. I always thought it was a gas line right there, but that's well in the city's right away.
Yeah, so it's probably their tap into the gas line along the boulevard. So.
That's a good question, though, Steve.
Yep.
That was something that was put in like a couple of years ago.
Right, when
Yes.
Columbia came through.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they install air pressure relief valves every X linear feet along the pressure. Anyway, I'll sit down. I appreciate it.
If you wouldn't mind giving me your card, and I can get an electronic copy of this to include.
Yeah, of course.
Notes
That's
to
fine.
the commission, so it can be included.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank you. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much. for
Yeah.
your comments.
Thank you.
Like I said, build on it, but just the safety implications as well. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Other public comment, please. Yes, ma'am.
That was my main concern. I think we all know, living in the area, how dangerous that corner is, and sightlines are a problem now. So that really is, to my mind, is the major argument. But also just say that I was reading, and it said that the variance needs to be consistent with what can be seen in the immediate neighborhood. And so I did research on 4 different streets that are adjacent. I looked at East Pasemont, which is the street in which I live. I'm Patricia DeMarco. I live at 141 East Pasemont. I looked at East Como, which is 2 streets further away. I looked at East Lakeview, which is 1 street closer. And then I looked at East California. There's not a single variance that is anywhere near the square footage of this proposed application. I have not seen CAC. I went through your records. I wasn't entirely thorough, but I think I went through the last year. And I don't believe you've reviewed any applications for a variance less than 3,675 square feet. Moreover, this is a substantial variance, which is another, if I understand correctly, requirement that the variance not be as substantial. So I compared it, for instance, to the application you looked at in October from 64 Fenway, and that variance was very modest. It asked to go from 4 parking spots to 2. This is an application requesting to go to 0. It requested side yard to go from 11.64 to 10 feet. This application wants to go to 0. I mean, every single one of those variances you look at basically says, well, why should we abide by that zoning law? We should be exempt from it. But in fact, if the standard really is whether or not that's reasonable given the immediate neighborhood and the kinds of variances that are normally granted, I don't believe this is a reasonable variance. The applicants also, the second point I wanted to make, question number 1 in the application is whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be any beneficial use of the property without the variance. And I believe several individuals sitting there were asking questions that may suggest that there are other beneficial uses that people can imagine. For instance, it's possible to build a garage that would meet the zoning laws sufficiently on all counts, which could be rented out, and that would be a substantial financial profit. There have been several properties in the vicinity, including one that you guys looked at from, I believe, on East Como, where they asked to build an adjacent residence on top of a garage, also again to yield profit. And so I believe that that fits the need of beneficial use of property without the requested variance. And so I hope you'll turn down this requested variance.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes.
Hey there. I'm trying to not piggyback off other people. In this case, no unique hardship exists. Nothing about the lot size, shape, or topography prevents it from being used as it was intended as a single-family home in this neighborhood. No reasonable use is denied. The property remains fully viable for its zoned purpose. A single-family home is not only feasible, it's consistent with every surrounding property. Without a legal hardship, a legitimate hardship, you're legally obligated to deny the variance.
Thank you. May I ask your name, please?
Molly Brinkmanside.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Judy Greer. I don't have the qualifications that some of these individuals have, but I've lived in California for over 20 years. And there have been a couple of variances that have been approved, one of which was the school for the children, and they guaranteed us that they had enough parking that they wouldn't have a problem to use it on our street parking, but that's not the case. So that's one variance that I wish had never been passed, and it would have made the street much safer for the children and everybody else. But the other thing is, the rain garden that they're putting in, supposedly we need a rain garden, and they're taking that property away from one of our neighbors to do a rain garden for the neighborhood. And I wonder, we have this large lot now, which at this time is filled with nothing but dirt and gardening, and that absorbs the rain. So it would appear to me that they would need to look at the rain garden again and see, is it in the appropriate place? Is the design good, et cetera, et cetera.
It's opposite the driveway that
Yes.
they proposed.
Correct, yeah. It's opposite, just across the street. The other thing is that one of the gentlemen talked about the safety. If before this is all approved, I think that we need to get a written response from the Department of Public Safety on the parking and the safety, that this will have any effect on the neighborhood. And I want to point out that that particular area, we live near the Calumet School, and children walk home from that school. And it's dangerous enough now with them being able to see the cars that are coming because there is no sidewalk. So perhaps the city needs to put in a sidewalk. All I'm saying is, I've lived here for 20 years. I had the option, and this is no offense to anybody on Pasemont, okay? I had the option of buying on Pasemont a piece of property that was double the size of mine for about half the price. But I didn't want to live on a neighborhood where it was rentals. I wanted to live in a neighborhood where I got to know my neighbors, and we had a sense of community. And I'm seeing that destroyed, and it's very disappointing, very disappointing. So I hope that you will take some of these things into account that we're talking about and consider them before you make your decision. Thank you.
I have one question. If you could let us know as well what our next, how we can object further.
We'll address that as we
Thank
proceed through this, but yes, ma'am. Well, thank you. Other public comment? Yes.
Hi, my name is Variance. I live down near the daycare. I'm actually a renter. I've rented there for 24 years. So there's good things about renters. I have no problem with it being a rental. You just have to get the right person. But one thing that strikes me when I look at the, what is that called? A screen. I'm looking at the footprint of the owners of the property. I'm looking at the footprint of their home, and I'm looking at a footprint of the proposed building. And it's so much bigger. And I just have, I'll be honest, I have a little bit of difficulty thinking that this is from an altruistic point of view to help the neighborhood and the city reach its goals. I think we should just all be very honest. We're all human. That there's nothing wrong with doing it because you want to make a profit off your property. That's totally normal, and I think we all feel that way. So I just think we should not be disingenuous about it, because you could lower the diameter and you could lower the footprint and make this much more viable and use your property that way. One other important point is I'm guessing you guys are all familiar with where this actual street is in relationship to Walhalla Ravine. But Walhalla Ravine is a treasure in Clintonville, as we know, and East California is used as a walkway to get to Walhalla by like almost all of that section of Clintonville. I work from home, I sit in front of my living room window, and one of the things I love is watching literally, 100 people a day walk down the street to get to Walhalla. So please, please, please think about the safety of these people, not only the children, but I have elderly neighbors that are in their 90s, and since the daycare was put in, I won't let them cross the street. They have been ordered and they do obey. They call me when they want to leave their house, and I go over and I help them cross the street. Because whether we like it or not, the daycare parents tear down and up the street. So if they're doing that on a straightaway, I don't see any logic in this idea that putting more parking there will slow people down. You'd have to actually drive it to see that that's not going to happen. So I know the city needs the money. I know the city wants the density. I know that we're fighting an uphill battle here. But I'm asking you, please think about the safety of the neighbors. And just, if we can think about something more reasonable. Thank you.
If I can make another comment.
Let me make sure no one else in the crowd wants to make a comment first, and then we can. Yes.
Hi, I'm their neighbor that lives right behind them. Move over, I live.
Move this way. Not on this segment, but.
I live right here, right behind them with this, and it's my son that parks right here. Because, Virginia McMillan. My son parks there and my daughter parks across the street. And, that's because they have no parking on California. It was built a long time ago where everybody had one car. And now everybody has four. There are people that park all the way up that way. If they put in how many bedrooms? 4? 4-bedroom house, that's a rental, so you figure at least 4 different people have cars there. It's gonna be just too much. And if they put this garden thing in over there, where there's gonna be no parking, everybody's gonna come up this way. And I can't see anyway around this curve in the mornings. It's very hard to get out of my driveway, looking at the curve to see if anybody's coming. I kind of like winter because I can see headlights. Otherwise, I can't. And if they put a building there where I can't see around it, it's not going to be safe for me to get out of my driveway.
Thank you.
I'd like to talk one more time because nobody's brought up something I thought they would. But if anybody's behind me wants to talk more, go ahead. Anybody? Okay, please. Molly Brinkman, again. I also wanted to bring up something, we're talking about money and, nobody, cares about anybody, making money. However, how does this proposed variance and building affect the neighborhood and the people who live nearby? My understanding was that the city would have commercial zoning, then multifamily, then single family to provide a buffer between the single family and a duplex, et cetera, whatever, If you granted this variance, this would rewrite the zoning map for this lot at the expense of the surrounding area. And I thought boards are required to protect the uniformity of the neighborhood. And also, I wrote all this out, intent of the zoning district. So I'm thinking this could have a negative impact on the property values of our street. And that's neighborhood stability, consistent land use patterns are core components of property valuation. Introducing higher density housing in a low density district creates uncertainty about future variances, increased density, reduces the desirability of adjacent properties, undermines the long-term value of homes built under existing rules, and nearby property owners face an unreasonable and unnecessary reduction in value if this variance is granted. So there is another financial side to this as well.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to comment on what Molly was saying. There are plenty of lots on East California, Walhalla, that they could do this to. And we could end up duplexes all up and down the street, and it would completely ruin the neighborhood. And as I said, I find that difficult because it's one of the few sanctuaries left in this city where we have nature. We have deer, we have foxes, heck, we even have coyotes. And I think that's something to be said. That's one of the other reasons why this is an important place to keep it naturally.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I've lived in my house since 1998. And my backyard is my sanctuary. This would absolutely destroy my view, for one thing. But my concern also is the animal life from the ravine that comes up. Often there are deer in that area. What's going to happen to the deer when we create that? Where are they going to go? It's not just people. It's also you're destroying an area that, for as long as I've lived there, which is almost 30 years, close to 27 and a half, 28 years, and they've always been in that lot, in that open area. The professor who used to live there, I'm sure he would turn over his grave if he learned what you were going to do. But he planted stuff in that area for the deer. You know, they've learned over the years, generations and generations up there. It was only a couple weeks ago I saw a mom and her 2 kids up there, and I'm talking about deer. And that's part of the charm of the neighborhood. I wonder what it also is going to do to my property values. And you know, my quality of life.
Yes, go back.
Hi, I actually have a question. I
Yes.
heard this, but I didn't read it, so I don't know if it's accurate, but I don't know if I should direct this to you guys or to you guys, but it's something about there's a tax abatement and Section 8 housing or something like that. I wondered if that's, what I heard was correct.
No, the city has a program to promote the development of housing, including multi-units, and you get a tax break from property taxes for certain years if you include units for the lower income residents.
It was written in the variance.
Right, it's not Section 8, it's income requirement that the city set forth.
But could you explain, like, what is lower income mean? And I'm not against the lower income.
Yeah, I forget, I think it's 80% of medium. It's a formula that the city provides. I don't have that documentation in front of me.
Which we do need affordable housing. I totally support that. I just wanted to ask about your motivation for putting that in. Was that because of
It's a big
Yeah.
tax incentive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a big gain for us and the city, yeah.
In the city.
And it's going to continue. Real estate people are going to come in, try to buy these single people's houses with these large lots and no end on the same damn thing.
Yeah.
I just want to make one little note. It's interesting, at the opposite end of the street, there's a home currently priced at $965,000. And there are other homes just a little east of you. One sold for over $800,000. Beautiful lot, beautiful home. I just can't imagine what kind of rent you would charge that would make that a good thing for their property values.
Any other notes? Yes, in the back.
Sorry. I'm sure this is probably similar to what everybody else has been saying, but for me, the major concern, I live right beyond the bend, and the going from 4 parking spots, which were, are required, to 0 and having parking on the street. If you're right at that curve, the resident is 90 years old, 93. I have stage 4 cancer. I wonder how emergency medical could get down the street if there was all that parking. So I just kind of wanted to.
May I ask your name, ma'am? I'm sorry.
Erin McIntyre.
Thank you very much. Other comments from the public?
I just want to piggyback on that. I hadn't thought about that, but I'm getting up in age, about to turn 75, and I've got some serious health concerns right now, and that's a real consideration for me too.
Thank you. Other comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Michelle Acker. I live or 2. I believe the parking issue is concerned. It's a lovely rendering. If you get to the 5th document, it's a beautiful building. It just seems too big for this space. And I guess my question really is, when you need that many variances, it's not a small change. It seems like a big change to the nature of why we have those rules, because there's so many of them all together. It's not one, it's not this one, it's not that one. So that kind of bothers me, because I think those regulations are put there for a reason, for safety, for green space, for water flow, I think a good word. But yeah, right, for all of those things. So that's kind of a concern of mine, that I think, again, yes, it's their property, they could build on it. it just seems not the right place for that size and shape of a building, based on the variances that are requested.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Bernita Gillen again. I'm just worrying about also the noise. We have a very quiet neighborhood. We have, people go out at midnight and go walking and stuff. We have a very quiet neighborhood. They're getting ready to put in a 4-bedroom rental house that's most likely going to go to teenagers or younger people and stuff and everything else, which is not going to be quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have an awful lot, a lot of older people there that we've lived there we've had our house for over 30 years. And we're not opposed to change either, but I kind of like the quiet neighborhood that I am in. That's why we bought there, because it was good for kids and good to be quiet and, nice neighborhood. Everybody knows everybody, but it's not going to be that way again.
Yeah, it's like all of us have seen each other about, and we all, say hi and hello to each other, which is why I'm surprised you never said anything to me, since I'm outside all summer long. And that's the kind of neighborhood we have. We have a block party, where the kids can come, and it's something I had growing up in Cleveland and Shaker Heights a long time ago. It really, I like this neighborhood because it's a neighborhood full of people who care about each other, who talk to each other. And this just doesn't feel, I'm not opposed to a single family home that's small, that is appropriate for that, and doesn't get in the way of being able to see around that curve. I know I slow down to maybe 10 miles an hour coming right around that curve, going into my garage, because I don't know who's coming around. Even, when it's dark like it is right now, it's hard unless you see lights coming. And it's a, if you had a garage or at least a driveway where you could park your car so nobody's parking on the street there, that seems so much more, it's safer for the community, and it's in line with the whole neighborhood itself.
Any other comments?
I guess I want to make one final comment. We do love our neighborhood. We also love our neighbors. We actually hosted a block party 2 summers ago. Brad flipped probably 120 burgers and hot dogs. So we are neighborhood people. We know a lot of faces here, and we're happy to see them. So I think we're happy to have the feedback. We're not bad people, I guess is all I would say.
Go ahead, Naz.
Okay.
They should have asked.
All right. One
Can I
last
ask
comment.
a question? Would you guys be willing to consider adding, a driveway is everything, a little parking pad is everything? Would you be willing to change the design so that people wouldn't have to park on the street? Because I think that of all the arguments, safety seems to be the big predominant one.
I think you're right that the safety definitely seems like one of the biggest issues. So I think we have a lot of things to discuss after tonight's meeting, that's for sure.
I have one more thing. I don't know what they can build unless they take it further back. Like when she's talking about parking, whatever, a line of sight is awful. It is so dangerous. It doesn't matter. I love the fact that I can use that grassy area to see either way, coming or going. It is truly a dangerous, that is the most dangerous strip of our street.
Yeah. And when I'm coming out of my driveway, my driveway is maybe between here and maybe right here. It is small. I have to go in the street. And I'm sure some of you see me. I come and I have to go into the street to be able to close my garage door and then go one way or the other. And that's, if there's parking, I can't do that if there's parking there. It makes no sense.
Ms. Simro.
Sandy Simbro. This reminds me all too much of Milton and North Broadway when we were trying to put a king-size bed in a twin-size bedroom. And that's just.
Your reference of the property at the.
No, North Broadway, yeah,
Broadway,
which
south-
is still
west
vacant.
corner.
Yes,
Yes.
and it,
It's still vacant.
at the risk of hating myself later, it's like you got a garage sitting there that looks like you're gonna renovate it to match the new building, and I'm like, why aren't you just doubling the size of the garage, making a 4-car garage with an ADU over the top of it? You know, there's room to expand the garage. There's room to expand on the lot. There's no question about that. However, the engineer has pointed out the obvious, the residents have pointed out the obvious, and the king-size bed doesn't fit.
Thank you, Ms. Simro. Hearing no other comments, I'll bring this back to the committee for discussion. I will make a motion to approve the application as submitted. Now it's on the table for discussion.
Is there anything from traffic engineering
I have not seen anything from city staff comments.
or staff?
Correct. So I can't answer that question. Steve did not provide it, and I have not seen it.
Well, we're so early that it's probably before they.
As we have moved this meeting up a week from our normal time, yes, that is very likely. And with the holidays, I don't know what their review schedule is.
For me, the rural residential zoning district was put in place for a reason. And I think part of the reason is the protection of the ravine and the surrounding neighborhood, the housing stock. That's not just a regular zoning qualification that we usually see. This is specific to, it says rural residential. The lots are usually a little bigger. There's a reason for it, that they fought so hard to get that. I think the zero parking is a big problem for me. The sight lines are tricky. The precedent, we can talk about that or not. But I do respect the property owner's rights to try to do with their property what they would like. But I do think that this is a big overreach, and there's not really a true hardship to me.
Discussion?
The hardship, I think, is housing, building more units. You know? I look at this and I see the position of this lot and this available land to develop, and I think it is keen for a parcel split. I think which building is too big. It's too big.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Can you speak up?
Oh, yeah, I said that I think what they're building is too big. You know, I think a small home, something like that, and provide the parking. You know, and if it was smaller, you could provide the parking, and it would eliminate all these variances that you are looking for. But it is a good spot to do it, and kudos for you for taking it on.
I would ask a question. Have you guys discussed this plan with your neighbors? Have you had any input from them prior to submitting this application? And what are your thoughts on their feedback as you're hearing it tonight?
We've spoken directly to 4 different neighbors. We have support from all 4 of those neighbors. People talking about, you know, we think it's appropriate. We think it makes sense. We know you guys will do it the right way. That's the feedback we've had, including our neighbor who is directly planned south on this drawing, whose property this probably affects the most. It's the one that's adjacent to our property.
And then Steve attached 2 letters.
Yes, there were 2 letters, but they were both not in support.
Not in support, yes.
It's too bad the garage is where it's located, because then you could give it more land.
I know, the garage is funny compared to our home, so
I
it
don't know why
creates
they
like
didn't
this
just build a
strange
garage on the back of the lot.
middle
We'll probably
lot.
just use a large.
Been any consideration of demoing the existing garage, rebuilding it, and re-evaluating where your lot split occurs?
Cost.
Yeah, we haven't considered that yet.
No, we have not considered.
We do, so between our garage and our home, we have fenced in that portion of the yard. We have a dog and, so moving the garage closer to our house is probably not a thing. It's just not something we've considered yet, but not saying that it's not something we would consider.
The idea of expanding the garage with an ADU sounds
Yes, has that option been considered? Demoing the existing garage, expanding it, and building an ADU in that garage?
We talked about that, you know, one less unit and it can't be split. And that's, you know, can't do the tax incentives, can't split it. I mean, that's money stuff. That's marketability, but it's also more housing.
If you can't get it, maybe you get some of it at least, you know?
Yeah.
Are you still taking public questions?
Typically don't. Yeah.
I just wonder what, I think it was Michelle, would you talk about the I just wanted to ask, I'd love to hear a discussion amongst you guys to hear about the situation with so many variances being asked. Like, it's that whole thing of like, why set up the rules if they're all going to be broken? So I would just love to hear your feedback.
We've had applications with more. So this is,
Had they been
I mean, it's
approved?
not fun to look at, but we've had more. It's just when it's a complicated case, which this is, and when you get a complicated case, you tend to see a lot of variances, yeah.
And typically, a lot of what happens is many of the variances are
Kind of
caused because of
the
another
other
variance that occurs. In this case, many of these variances are being required simply because the lot size is down to the sub 3,000 square foot and the size of the building you're attempting to place on that size of the lot. So, but
The curve is responsible for a lot of the variances when you think about it.
But we also do consider in our discussions the shape of the lot impacting the buildability of a lot. And that often necessitates variances just because of an odd shape or odd placement of a lot. Any other discussion from the committee? Do I have a motion to approve?
Well,
I'm
Motion
to
is on the
approve.
table. Do I have a
so don't, okay.
Yeah,
Well, I was just gonna say, there might be one that I would vote for, you know,
Right.
but.
You're very welcome to
No.
make
Oh, you want to do
you're
separate?
very welcome to make a motion to
No,
split
no,
the.
no, I'm sorry, no. I apologize to the community.
I move to approve the application as submitted.
We'll call the vote. Please feel free to give your comments. They will be included to our notes to the CAC. I will start with Gretchen.
I love your house drawing, and I'm a big fan of density, and I appreciate your efforts. I live on Clinton Heights going up to Indianola around that curve, and I know how difficult that is, so I am concerned about the safety in the area. Otherwise, I'd love to approve this, but it's hard to say yes with that concern, so I'm gonna no.
Ditto. A lot of the same issues. I think it's quite simply too large and just needs to be inside off-street parking. I don't think parking is typically an issue in Clintonville, which is maybe a different take than many have, but in this particular case, on-street parking is challenging, so that's a little bit. Andrea?
No, I have, similar comments.
No, as well. I mean, I support the development, the density, but it's too large for the space.
No, too big.
I agree, and I keep going back to that zoning, that it's the triple R, it's just, that's not what, to me, what it's there for, and so I think it's too big. Safety, yes, big problem. I would like to hear from traffic engineering. Maybe there's time before the commission meeting that they can wait or go out there and take a look.
Does the applicant have the option to withdraw, or does it have to go to the CAC?
I'll vote.
Oh, sorry.
I'm also gonna have to vote no. I think this is a large project for a fairly small lot. I'm hearing lots of concerns from the neighbors about safety and understanding that vision triangles on this street can be challenging, and to add such a large structure there could pose a very large risk. And without having input from city traffic, I would feel very uncomfortable approving this. So I would have to say no from that standpoint as well. That's a good question, Jason. We've had that discussion before. The applicant, when they come here, is always entitled to a vote if they wanted. We haven't often pulled a vote or tabled it, but that is obviously up to the applicant whether they choose to proceed, having heard our feedback. Remember, we are just an advisory board to the CAC. The recommendation of the city officially comes from the CAC. So the applicant, between this meeting and the CAC meeting, has the opportunity to revise their plan, change their plans, and or to decide to table at that point. That's one of the reasons we moved up our meeting a week ahead of the CAC meeting, so that we would have time for the applicants to react to the public comment and our input.
I thought it was Christmas Eve. The reason we moved it up.
Well, that,
I mean,
no,
so,
just in
like
general.
years
we're
ago,
always open
Oh, yeah.
a day ahead.
Years ago, we moved it up.
That
We used to
Christmas
meet- We used to meet 2 days before the commission meeting, and there was no time for any.
They must have read the commission meeting, though.
Well, they moved the commission meeting back a week, so there's actually even more time now between meetings.
Lucky you guys.
So the application fails with a vote of 0 to 7. That recommendation was sent to the CAC. And this application will be considered at their meeting on January 8th at 7 p.m. at the Whetstone Library. For anyone interested, feel free to attend that meeting to comment to the CAC directly. As I said, they're the ones who make the recommendation directly to the city. We use this meeting as a way to take more public comment. They will probably take less public comment at the CAC meeting than we were able to take here just due to time constraints, which is why we do these meetings. So, yes, ma'am.
If they don't take many comments from the public, will they take written information?
You certainly may
Like,
email your commissioner.
Because of the weather, we weren't able to get all the names of people
I would-
who actually wanted to oppose
Absolutely.
this.
I would
Okay.
absolutely recommend emailing your district commissioner.
Okay.
I
Well-
believe so. I can find out for you. If you give me your name, I can
that's
get
fine.
you
Thank you.
contact info. So that concludes our variance agenda. One last item. We're gonna the next meeting of the Clintonville Area Commission is January 8th at 7 p.m. at the Whetstone Library, and our next meeting of this committee will be January 28th at 7 p.m. in this room. Thank you very much, and meeting adjourned at 8:13.